The creature was hairy, black shiny hair.
This animal's coming to the surface for only a second or two. And what did I see?
This thing walked on two legs. It walked like a human, but it wasn't human.
There's something unsettling about swamps. They're teeming with life, but not all of it is normal.
Ma, you see this?
No.
Strange creatures, eerie noises, and mysterious disappearances. Creatures that defy explanation and sounds that chill the soul. Get ready to explore the spooky and mysterious world of swamps, where the unknown lurks in every corner and every shadow hides a chilling secret. Bobbing up and down, a dark figure seen emerging from the depths of a swamp in Palembang, Indonesia. This isn't just a scary silhouette, it's believed to be the Banyu, or the Antek Anyu, a ghostly spirit of an ancient princess who was forced to marry a monstrous man. The Banyu appears out of water bodies and swamps, ready to roll passing boaters. It seems like this one hadn't found a victim yet, but was in search of one. Just as the creature got close enough, it revealed its face. Instead of appearing in its usual womanly self, the creature had picked a ghastly face, probably to spook passerby, who left it alone out of fear. Swamp's journey. You know, Mother Nature's really disappointed with us even when she packs her bag and decides to go. All jokes aside, I would not be comfortable standing in a swamp that suddenly decides to up and go. But that's not even the weirdest part. You know how some of us dread stepping foot in the ocean or in ponds because we're unusually creeped out by our foot touching something? Well, the way the swamp is moving, I bet there is something under there that keeps shifting the swamp. And yes, that's a nightmare most wouldn't be willing to dip their toes in, but this guy, he's going all in. And probably because he suspects the pond is infested with kanduri. Indonesian anomaly. In the stillness of an Indonesian forest, two friends saw something strange in the swamp. Eyes emerged from the murky water, watching them intently. It was a muddy, hairy creature, unlike anything they'd ever seen. Their shock turned into curiosity. They picked up a stick and poked at the mysterious being, hoping to understand what it was. Perhaps it was some sort of entangled reef or weed that popped out of the water due to pressure. But the creature moved slightly, showing it was alive, before slipping back into the swampy depths. The friends stood there, hearts pounding, wondering what they had just encountered. What other eerie secrets might be lurking beneath those dark waves? Occult creature. It is said that our rivers, ponds, and swamps are inhabited by a mysterious creature that lurks solely to haunt people. The creature, named the hantu air, typically resides in Malaysian bogs, but can travel far distances. It is believed the hantu air often appears shaped like a log, or something far more discreet, often like a ragged cloth, floating just at the surface to fool people into thinking it's nothing to worry about. Just when they least expect, the creature pops out and takes them with it. Just look at what's happening here. This was also filmed in Malaysia, so many believe this is the hantu air finally captured on camera. Wetland creep.
What?
Ma, you see this?
No.
A mysterious creature stirred in the shadows of a swamp in 2021, catching the eye of a boy who happened to be passing by.
What the hell? What is that, Mom?
What?
With dark, slimy skin and no limbs, it maneuvered through the water, its oddly shaped head contorting unnaturally. That alone is enough to convince you whatever this is, it's certainly not a human. The peculiar sighting was quickly captured on video and uploaded online, sparking intrigue and a flurry of speculation among viewers. Despite its viral nature, the origin of this spine-chilling swamp dweller remains unknown.
Ma, you see this?
Swamp dragon. Back in 2009, a video grabbed headlines and sparked a wave of curiosity online. It featured an explorer in an unnamed cave by a river, where he stumbled upon something astonishing, a creature that resembled a swamp dragon. The footage was shadowy and grainy, showing the creature slithering through the dark, its form curving like something out of a fantasy tale. The video abruptly ended, leaving more questions than answers. Once it hit the internet, the debate took off. Was this a real dragon sighting? The mystery deepened as the exact location of the cave remained unknown, and no follow-up reports ever surfaced. Swamp surprise. When you're out exploring an open body of water, you might want to be careful, scared even, because many lakes and swamps around the world are inhabited by mysterious creatures, all eagerly awaiting human presence. And just when they least expect, they pop out, scaring even little ones who dared to venture. Ever since this video went viral, many are wondering what on earth could be going on. Maybe it's a swamp creature. Maybe it's a person donning a suit. What we do know is that little kid was definitely terrified and will probably never return to the lake again. Croc Station. There's a pretty popular saying in Florida: if there's even a small pond, you best believe there are monstrous reptiles lurking underneath. But it looks like one guy decided to forgo this and ended up battling a ruthless scene as he carefully waded through waves and waves of crocodiles. And that too in a mere swamp. Yikes, with all those monstrous and mythical creatures we see, it's much spookier and unnerving to see something like crocs. Because of course, you know running into them has a much higher chance than meeting a ghost. And with the way these crocs are desperate to lunge, you better believe they're ready for lunch too. Galenthe's victory.
We got her, guys. We're doing it. We are doing it. Okay?
We're all familiar with Forrest Galente, American wildlife biologist, who's often taking up tasks bigger than himself. And he's done it again, this time fishing around in a swamp he knew hid devilish creatures. And knowingly saw it once he saw something slithering underneath. An anaconda, thankfully having eaten its last meal, so clearly not in the mood to pray further. Which kind of explains why Galenthe's efforts continued. But you're not even ready for the last shocker. Whoa! Look at that size. This anaconda is clearly one you don't mess with. It's estimated to be 19 feet long.
Look at the size of this animal.
One of the biggest anacondas captured yet. And it probably owns the place.
Here she goes. Look.
Armadont.
And I think it's one of the largest chitons that exist.
Ugh, I know how this looks. But don't worry, it's not that. What is this though? It's far weirder and creepier than some bodily abomination. Discovered by an American YouTuber while he was filming near a local swamp, this ungodly creature invoked quite the emotions when its video was uploaded online. Not only was it seen immediately as some disgusting egg sack, which many believe held eggs for mythical creatures or even aliens, many even freaked out over its appearance, which we know resembles, well, you know what. But the YouTuber went as far to flip it over. And oh, well, maybe it's an armadillo? Nope. Apparently, this could be a kumboot chiton, a marine mollusk. Lost catch. Submerged in the depths, something mysterious caught the eye of Jeremy Wade, the infamous river monster catcher. Although Wade has never really lost a catch, this one evaded him completely. While on one of his routine trips, he noticed a creature bubbling underneath the swamp. It seemed to have multiple tentacles, but almost exactly like a mangrove's branches. So Wade wasn't sure if he should proceed. But as he got closer, the bubbles got bigger, and he knew he was dealing with something otherworldly. Ultimately, Wade tried approaching using a branch, but couldn't even get close. I guess some mysteries are better left unsolved. Hantu's capture. Watch these brave men tackle one of Malaysia's most ruthless water spirits, the Hantu Air. It seems like this Hantu Air had been stalking the area for quite a while, spooking out anyone who dared walk by. Eventually, exhausted and frustrated by its constant antics, a couple of locals sought it out and even managed to grab a hold. But keeping it with them was easier said than done. The Hantu Air evaded every attempt to come close. Just as the men thought they'd finally made it through, the Hantu Air would appear from another angle. Eventually, the men left it behind, closing off the lake for all visitors. Experiment 1812. Imagine stumbling on something so grotesque and inhumane, you accidentally uncover a conspiracy. That's what happened to a couple of friends who, while driving across a remote area in the US, discovered a bizarre creature lying lifelessly on the ground. At a closer look, they couldn't make any sense of it, no matter how they looked. The creature initially struck them as a poor pig, but not only did it bear a tail-like hind, but also numerous limbs. What's worse is its teeth. Teeny, tiny, jagged layers of fangs or hooks, designed to clearly tear away even the strongest opponents. Many think this could be the botched result of a scientific experiment aimed to replicate mermaids by crazy scientists. Homo algus. In the quiet marshes of Seine, France, something eerie was stirring. Visitors started whispering about dark figures that seemed to rise from the mist, bending over the water like ghosts. These sightings sent chills through the community, and soon stories of ghostly encounters were buzzing all over. Eerie photos of these spectral forms circulated, convincing more and more people that the marsh was haunted. The mystery deepened with every ghostly tale, until the truth finally came out. These weren't spirits haunting the marshes, but art installations by Sophie Prestecacamo. She called them Homo algus, crafted from mud and seaweed to age and change with the marsh, blending art with nature in a way that tricked everyone who saw them. Yikes! Ocean illusion. Creatures that live in water are pretty terrifying, but we managed to get by because, duh, they don't make it to the surface. But when creatures start emerging from the depths and you have no idea what they are, you have to ask, is life really worth it? Seen in Queensland, Australia, the mysterious creature suddenly appeared from a muddy swamp, surprising the cameraman, who was sure this was some hybrid creature. Why was he so adamant on its identity? Is because the cameraman was a nature enthusiast and hadn't seen anything like it before. Even if it's a fish, for one to breathe outside the water is something you and I both know is rather peculiar, let's say. Bloated away. Alright, I know most of us wouldn't even dare touch something suspicious lying on a lagoon's surface, but seriously, don't be tempted, because you might end up with something even scientists can't explain. Now, when it was originally discovered, many feared that these were actually some sort of sac which protected dragon eggs. Yep, that's right. There's a slight chance cutting this open would unleash havoc on the world. But a few also suggested it could be a sentient alien creature. Ugh, plus look how it moves. You couldn't convince me to touch it even if you offered me $1 million. Well, experts think it could be a colony of teeny tiny organisms, but that does not console me. Clogged reptile. If you think snakes on a plane was a nightmare, you're not ready for whatever might creep up to your house. A pipe feeding a swamp near a Brazilian neighborhood kept getting clogged. So a group of locals finally decided to check it out. And lo and behold, one of the scariest sights possible. A giant snake, possibly an anaconda with that girth, slowly slithering its way into the pipe. It's clear the snake was pretty used to this routine. It probably used the pipes to travel around and tackle a couple of innocent rodents. But if this had gone for any longer, it would have eventually met a human. Thankfully spotted, it was later relocated. Malay hunt. Check out what one Malaysian fisherman spotted. From the angle and distance, you'd think this is just a regular log and that there's nothing to it. But sometimes things aren't always what they seem. While this might look like a log, the fisherman was sure he'd actually encountered the evil spirit of the hantu air, purposely disguising itself as a mere log. Perhaps it was stuck in transition, which is why it didn't respond. But there's also another theory, that this is a carcass belonging to some type of mythical being, perhaps something close to the Loch Ness Monster. Of course, since the fisherman cut the video short, we don't really know what it could be. At Horror's Gate. Life doesn't always play favorites. Sometimes it deals even the most devilish creatures a bad hand. When one swamp regurgitated this creature, most weren't sure what it was from afar. You think it's just a regular fish, but here's what makes this case not that easy to solve. Focus on the fish's mouth. And I can't believe I'm even saying this, but skip the fangs, for now at least. The middle teeth are eerily human-like, aren't they? Combine them with those two horrible blood suckers, and you know this isn't some regular old fish. So what is it? Well, legend says sinners are cursed to spend the rest of their eternity as such grotesque creatures, which explains its humanoid teeth. El Chupacabra. Perhaps one of the scariest myths in the world is of the creature that prowls lands and feasts on goats. The Chupacabra has long been a figure of fear, but for the better part, we've always known it was just a story. But now a small swamp in Paraguay has spit out a carcass that resembles the legend of El Chupacabra and is striking fear in the region. Experts are trying to identify the creature, but so far they haven't been able to. Not only because the creature's gone past the limit of saving, but because its skull and physique resembles no creature that exists, or that we know of. And if it really is a chupacabra, and in this condition, what kind of predator are we looking for? Demon's Lair. Deep in the Amazon jungle, hiding close to its festering swamps, lies mysterious beings with a presence so terrifying, most locals actively avoid the area they are seen in. It is believed the creatures resemble tall, thin women, but despite a near-perfect humanoid form, are unable to support their own weight. As a result, these creatures often crawl in unusual ways, sometimes even dangling from trees to launch themselves at unsuspecting visitors. For decades, the myth of the Amazonian swamp creatures has been just that, a myth. But now, we've got proof that they may exist. The video, uploaded anonymously, left more clues than answers. But it proves we're not alone as we think. Swamp monster. Swamp monsters. So far, we've only seen them in cartoons. So many of us think they're just a figment of our imagination. Would you believe us if we told you swamp monsters really did exist? And occasionally they step out of their comfort zones, but only to haunt people who happen to visit the swamp at that time. Just like this one, who seems to be in quite a mood. Now, most people think it's some person playing dress-up, and while that could be a possibility, donning a big fur suit and jumping in the river is a surefire way to meet your creator. Just saying, maybe we've got to give this one a chance. Aswang spotted. According to Filipino mythology and folklore, the aswang is a demonic creature with a slightly humanoid form. It is believed to be a shape-shifting vampire that preys exclusively on youngsters and humans. While aswangs usually inhabit thick jungles and dwell on trees, they're also believed to live in marshes and deep swamps. What you're seeing here is assumed to be an aswang, but one that's cleverly disguised itself, hoping to go unnoticed by who's ever manning the camera. Its humanoid form suggests the aswang is trying to blend in with regular folks, ready to sink its fangs and claws when they least suspect. River Phantom. Imagine walking alone by the Amazon River when you see something strange emerging from the murky waters. At first glance, it looks like a hairy witch creeping slowly out of the river. This unsettling sight makes your heart race. As you get closer, you notice its slow, deliberate movements. Its wet fur clings to its body, giving it an eerie, almost otherworldly appearance. You can't help but think you're seeing some kind of swamp monster. But this is no monster, but a sloth fresh from a swim. Despite their slow reputation, sloths move 3 times faster in water. However, a soaking wet sloth crawling out of the river is still not something you'd want to encounter alone in the forest. The Deviled Reptile. When you're out exploring the unknown, this is not something you'd want to see. Although it initially appears as a snake, you can make out some form of horns. Maybe it's Azazel, trying to slowly creep into our lives, or maybe it's some sort of mythical creature you'd expect to see in Maleficent. Well, either way, it's something we aren't prepared to handle, and it better stay away from us. Unwanted contact. In 2021, a casual rowing trip through a swamp turned into an unforgettable encounter for a group of friends. Feeling adventurous, one of the guys jokingly dipped his hand into the murky water. His laughter stopped when he suddenly pulled back, swearing something had grabbed him. They all tried to brush it off, guessing it was just a fish, until the water started glowing. Then, to their shock, a ghostly hand emerged from the depths, looking nothing like a human hand. No one was pulling a prank. This was something entirely different. The friends are convinced they met a real swamp monster that day. Despite their claims, no similar sightings have been reported since, leaving their eerie encounter shrouded in mystery. Rumble in the waves. One of the scariest things about the ocean or any water body is that you don't really know what's lurking underneath. Apart from marine creatures, there are believed to be mysterious beings that live in the depths. And although they prefer to hide, every now and then they'll emerge or show signs of their existence. Whatever's going on here is beyond me, honestly. But I'm thinking it could be something that's desperately trying to get out. A few folks even think these are bubbles escaping from a secret alien base underwater. Of course, we can't really say anything to that except, oof, let's hope that isn't the case. Underground signal. After residents in Mexico were constantly haunted by mysterious sounds echoing at night, they decided to chase the source and ended up locating this. The ground had loosened up because of an underground liquid repository, where they found a weird, unusual creature, long and lanky. With no discernible features, this creature had supposedly been trapped in the repository until it breathed its last breath. Once pulled out, most were unsure of its identity and even likened it to the basilisk in Harry Potter. But now, experts are saying it's possibly an oarfish. Why is it so spooky? Oarfish don't surface unless there's some sort of tragedy incoming, which means this is a warning. Mugatu. If you think Star Trek's Mugatu is nothing but fiction, take a look at this. Discovered by a bunch of explorers venturing deep into the Amazon, this creature seemed to have been petrified, or frozen permanently in time. The Mugatu was found tied up near a deep swamp, which not only tells us that it was probably placed there without its will, but there's something lurking and prowling in the jungle that's capable of taking down a creature like this. Crawling anomaly. Scarecrows. We think they ward off birds, but what if the fields we man are lined with ghostly creatures that emerge in the depths? Seen near a bog, a mysterious creature quickly made its way across, naturally spooking out the cameraman. Although it only appeared for a split second, we've got more than enough to be convinced this is some ungodly creature trying to make a quick getaway. Despite having a humanoid form that would usually convince you it's just a prank, this creature's inhumane movements suggest something far more sinister. Crocodilian nightmare. The next time you bring out a boat to check out a local swamp, you might just want to cancel the plan altogether and stay home. Because while we're pretty used to seeing crocs and snakes, some places can also hold monstrous creatures that you might never be able to identify. As this reptilian look-alike bobbed closer and closer to one's couple's boat, they realized this wasn't an ordinary giant lizard they were dealing with. Despite having a crocodilian appearance, its hide was too smooth, glistening and slightly slimy. This also debunks the chances of it being a manatee or a snake. The people who encountered this creature were sure this was a mysterious being. What do you think? Appalachian Loch Ness. The Loch Ness Monster, a name we've all heard over the years, especially from cartoons and movies, but a concept we've never really thought about. And now, after decades, nay centuries, after hearing nothing but mere rumors, we've got a sighting confirmed to be the Loch Ness Monster. And that too in the Appalachian Lake. Who knew a Scottish legendary creature could swim all the way to Appalachia? But just see for yourself, this is no marine creature, especially not with that stature and movement. And if we really get into it, our luck doesn't really side with it just being a regular marine being. Creepy crawly. See this anytime and you wouldn't even think this was filmed on Earth. Seriously, this creature looks like an insect that dropped from space, or one you'd expect from a series like Star Wars or Stranger Things. But nope, this was found much, much closer to home. And I don't know if that's comforting. Ugh. And on top of that, it's moving in a way that gives you the heebie-jeebies. I tried looking into this, but there's no information around. Maybe it's some undiscovered creature, or maybe, just maybe, it's some alien descendant. Banyu's capture. After numerous citizens were haunted by a ghostly figure near a popular Indonesian lake, a group of adventurers decided to seek out the spirit, hoping not only to capture it, but finally uncover the truth behind its identity. Luckily for them, they managed to lock sight almost immediately. They found the ghost lurking in the lake and almost instantly captured it. But would this really be the end? It is believed Banyus, or water ghosts like these, have the power to transform luck into their favor. And that's what goes on here. Just as the Banyu is pulled close, it vanishes, as if it was never caught. Shunned sea creature. In many cultures, it is believed that the spirits of evil people are recycled, like what many believe is what's going on here. This fish found swimming in a popular lake clearly brandishes a human-like face. If you think this is mere coincidence, you might be looking through the wrong lens. And not only does it sport humane characteristics, but it seems to be giving out some human expressions too. Try convincing me there isn't a soul trapped in there. Albino mystery. You see something like this poke its head from under the water and you'd naturally freak out. If it were me, I'd lay off the area completely. This creature appeared in a small pond in Japan and scared the life out of the cameraman, who decided to capture it to show it to the world. When uploaded, many believed it was some sort of a mysterious pond dweller that was just vetting out its human counterpart. Others think it's an unusual marine animal that we've yet to see. My guess? It's some sort of turtle, and one that's blessed with the albino gene. Giant creature was You see this crossing the road with you, and if you're sensible, you'd turn the car back where you came from. Yep, call me crazy, but a snake that big deserves to be left alone, especially when it could wrap around you any minute and squeeze the life out of you. Yep, that's something I don't even want to imagine. But imagine if this became the norm, like it is in Brazil. Judging from its girth alone, this reptile hasn't gone without any food. And while that's good for the snake, I'm sure I can't say the same for what it ate. Starry wave. You're welcome to figure out whatever this weird thing is. Honestly, to me, it looks like some sentient creature that wasn't supposed to be a sentient. Yep, the way it's moving those tentacles or branches or whatever the heck that is suggests there's some sort of brains in there too. But what on earth is this? Honestly, I'm a bit stumped. Maybe it's some sort of algae? Or a weird plant? Or maybe it's some alien critter sent purposely in this form to confuse the everlasting heck out of us. If you've got any idea, let us know in the comments. Myrmidilla. Mermaids. Creatures we've only read about in stories and folklore, but what if these mythical creatures lurk close? A couple of fishermen learned this the hard way when they accidentally reeled in what they thought was a fish, but turned out to be some spooky humanoid creature with a long tail and a half-humanoid body. The creature resembled mermaids, but this isn't how we're used to seeing them. This isn't Ariel. This is far creepier, and something's telling me it isn't going the way the fishermen planned. Apparently, the mermaid either passed away after contact or was already expired when it crossed these fishermen's nets. Penguhuni sungi. Penguhuni sungi, or river dwellers, are Indonesian creatures that love to spend their time under the waves. They resemble mermaids, a long, thin humanoid body, an even longer tail and luscious locks that flow with the water. But many also believe they're the product of an unknown river creature that has yet to show its face. Penguhuni sungi typically stays away from human civilizations. It is said that if the Pingu Sunny ever come across a person, its first reaction will be to retreat. Maybe that's why there have been a lot of reported sightings, and only this video to back it up. And that too, uploaded anonymously, with no idea where it happened. Open discussion. As a fisherman sat silently on his boat, his line cast with chicken bait. From the shadowy depths, a monstrous form began to emerge, its eyes glowing eerily in the darkness, massive arms reaching out as if to grasp the moonlight. The creature with its dark and daunting silhouette pulled itself toward the bait. Just as it touched the treat, it caught the fisherman's gaze. Realizing it was no longer alone, the creature recoiled with a haunting glare and vanished back into the black water, leaving behind a chilling silence. The fisherman, shaken, later was sure he'd encountered the Makhluk Rara, the Indonesian swamp monster.